Welcome to the IPP podcast, Mr. T's favorite podcast, because he pities the fool who doesn't listen to it.
I pity the fool.
Hi, welcome. How are you?
How are you? How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Pokemon.
Did you put... Micah edited the podcast last week. Did you put the picture of the Pokemon on the screen when you did?
Nope.
Oops.
Oopsie.
It's okay.
Well, it's a pretty familiar
What
Pokemon.
was it?
You got it right away.
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember yesterday, let alone last week.
All right, you ready for this?
Sure.
It's a crab.
Cloth. It's crabby.
And well, no.
Or crabrawler.
Crabrawler.
Crabrawler. Yep. Crabrawler is a crab with boxing gloves.
Dude, he's cool. He's
Crabrawler
cool
also is one of my favorite Pokemon names, at least in the English localization, because it's such a cool name. They popped off with that. It was really, really good.
I like that one. That one is a good one.
Yep. I was like, okay, I have to name all of the crabs, and I started with cloth. I started with cloth.
This week I thought it'd be funny if we did a word association.
Sure.
So I'll go first. I have 15 words.
So you're just gonna rapid fire them off at me?
I'm just gonna say the word, and whatever comes to your head first.
Okay. How many do you have?
15.
Okay, I have 13. So
You ready?
We'll match it. Yeah.
All right. Number 1, soccer.
Ball.
Number 2, music.
Can.
Music can?
Like the can?
Okay. 3, car.
Drive.
Okay. 4, food.
Ball. I'm panicking because I can't. I'm stressed out already.
Ball.
I'm stressed out already.
5, sky.
Ball.
Came in like a
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll try. I'm just saying what comes to my mind. The last thing was what I said, which is
She's
ball.
got balls on her mind.
Uh-oh.
6, winter.
I'm gonna piss myself. I said ball and can. I'm so sorry.
7, life.
Wind. Like a last wind. I don't know.
Okay. Like a
I
second
don't know.
wind.
Yeah, I don't know.
8, movie.
Show.
9, emotion.
Sad.
I thought you were going to say stressed.
Fucking stressed out.
10, space.
Ball. Okay.
I mean,
I
planets are balls.
I actually had a reason for that one. Is in Portal, the little AI ball that follows you around. There's one that's like space. I want to go to space, and then you shoot Wheatley into space.
That's a really good
I'm trying not to say ball or can.
11, magic.
Orb. Turn on the orb. It doesn't matter what channel.
12, tattoo.
Needle.
13, color.
Red.
14, art.
Paint.
15, onomatopoeia.
Ow.
Ow.
That's not an onomatopoeia. It's not. Ow isn't an onomatopoeia. But
That was a good one.
I
think for most of your answers, you said ball or can.
said ball. I don't
Ball.
know why.
Ball.
I panicked. Okay.
Well, this is going to be interesting for me.
I give you way worse words. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Number 1, ball.
Sack.
I was... It's so funny that ball's the first one. Okay, second, panty.
Loans.
Panty loan?
Panty loans, I don't know.
You cannot borrow my panties. Thank you very much. Number 3, suck.
Balls.
4, gay.
Dick.
5, justice.
Batman.
I am the knight. 6, white.
Black.
I don't know why. When I wrote this word, I was like, I wonder if he's going to say power.
What? Power.
Yeah, I was really... Okay. 7, shrimp.
Sea.
Okay. 8, wet.
Dry.
9, fish.
Shrimp.
Okay. 10, nuts.
Almonds.
11, head.
Blowjob.
Okay, 12, finger.
Butthole.
Again, when I wrote this, I was like, I wonder if he's going to say bang. But butthole works too.
Butthole.
13, candy.
Cane.
Okay. Yours were...
Your words were way more indicating of sexual matter.
Not really. But yeah, they were. But again, what I was writing these words, I was just thinking, like, what is a silly word I could just throw out there? I love that you said Batman for justice. That was pretty good. And then, again, also when I wrote these words, I was like, I want him to say this, but I can't trigger it. I was hoping you were going to say scampi for shrimp.
Scampy.
Shrimps camping.
Sweet scampi.
But that was great.
No, since we've decided that we're going to go to Morro Bay for
I know.
vacation,
I've had it on my
I've been
mind.
thinking of shrimp.
Shrimp. Well, luckily it's on the bay, so that's all you can eat is seafood. And I
Shrimp.
hate seafood.
This past
despise
weekend,
seafood.
I took pictures of a golf tournament, and I got to drive around in a golf cart.
You did. You were whipping around in that golf cart.
Dude, there's a few times where I felt like I was going to die.
Why?
I just felt like
You went a little too crazy in the cart?
Sometimes there were times where I felt like I was going like off of the trail to get down to like the field. I don't even know what they call a golf course. Like, I guess onto the course.
The green?
Sure, yeah. Green. I get onto the green, and I felt like I had to take a few like hills, and I felt like
some tires went off the ground.
Some tires I felt like were not traction enough to the hill itself. Oh. I felt like I was gonna tip. Like, that was my fear, was I was gonna tip it over. You were gonna
tip it over.
And I was
if you had, I don't think you would have done much damage to the.
There was quite literally like nothing in the golf cart. It was just me, my camera bag, and my camera. But yeah, no, it was fun. First time driving a golf cart.
Nice.
It was pretty cool.
I've driven a boat before.
A whole ass boat?
It was a small boat, but it was a boat. I got to drive it.
That's dope.
Yeah, with the big old wheel. Yeah, the big old wheel, and then this boat had a lever for like your acceleration. So it was just
okay.
It wasn't like a pedals or something. Yeah. It was a lever, and it was on a lake, and I got to drive a boat.
Can I drive a boat?
Can I drive a boat?
Boats are so weird. Like, I don't understand the.
Sure. Go ahead. Oh, and I'm gonna put you on blast here in a minute. Go ahead. Explain your thing.
I just don't understand the fascination with wanting to live on a boat.
Oh, I would never want to live on a boat.
Or like wanting to own like a really big boat.
Like a yacht?
Like a yacht like boat. Like, I never understood the like fixation on that. I don't get it.
Yeah. And that comes from some of your family members have bought in boats before, and you're like, why?
They said it's an investment, and I was like,
no, it's not. No, it's not. A house is an investment. A boat is not an investment. A boat is not an investment, because you buy the boat, you use the boat, it decreases in value because you use the boat, and now you can't resell it for the same price.
The only thing I said that it could possibly be an investment was if you were a pro boat racer.
Yeah, but that's a speedboat.
Because then you're buying a boat to help you win races. That's an investment.
Yeah, but that's an entirely different boat.
Yeah,
but
that's the only case that I see that could be an investment for someone.
That was every time we bring that up, I'm like, no, it's not an investment. It's not an investment because you buy the boat, you use it, it is decreased in value. You cannot sell it at the same price
unless you bought like a limited edition boat that you were never gonna use.
A Gucci boat?
And you just held on to it so that it increases in value over time. That's the only way I can see. That's what like a lot of car collectors do, is they buy old limited edition or like one of a kind cars that they'll buy for like millions of dollars, and then they'll hold on to it for 50 plus years, and then it increases in value because all of the other cars have either.
But boats aren't the same in terms of like commodity worth for cars. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, I get it with a car. For sure, I get it with a car. A boat?
A boat?
I don't think a boat applies.
You can't trade in a boat to... I don't know. I don't know anything about boats.
Yeah, maybe it does. I just don't know anything about boats.
It doesn't seem like an investment to me.
No.
Not at all.
Anyway.
You were going to say something?
What I was going to say about you is...
Oh, we're talking about me now?
We're talking about you. It's not going to be good.
Oh.
Last night, Mike has been bloated, and he meant to say the word laxative, He instead said lactate.
I need to take some lactate.
And I was like, no, try again. And then you said lactative.
You know what was funny is as I was typing up topics, I wanted to talk about how I haven't been pooping.
Yeah, Mike hasn't
And then I was like,
really
maybe
pooped
that's
in a while.
we shouldn't talk about that. But since you brought it up,
Mike hasn't pooped in a while, guys.
yep.
At least not a solid. This has happened before where you didn't poo for 4 days.
To be fair, I have pooped once a day, but that's not normal.
No, usually you're up to 2 or 3 a day.
2 or 3 a day.
And they're good long ones.
Mm-hmm. These ones are just bloop, small little baby ones.
Yeah, so that's why we brought up laxatives, and he said lactate. And I said, no, dear, try again.
To be fair, it was late at night. I was tired. I was bloated. I just wanted to go to sleep.
But you had to lactate instead.
I had to lactate instead. I had to. I was looking up topics for today, and one thing that caught my eye for like a funny news thing was a man broke a world record.
Yes.
For balancing spoons on his body. You want to guess the number of spoons he was able to balance on his body?
Question. Like all over his body or just like his face?
Anywhere he can balance a spoon.
Okay, so if it's a record, it's a stupid amount. I'm going to say 170 spoons.
98.
Damn, I overshot it a little bit.
You also want to know whose record he did break?
Huh.
His own record from about 2 years ago, which was, guess the number?
97.
88. Who? He broke his own record.
Shut the fuck up.
About 3 years or 2 more years prior to that. Want to guess the number
69.
then? 85. I was looking that up, and it's one of those stories where you're reading and you're like, oh crap, wait. And then you're like, oh shit, wait a minute.
It's like you keep reading and you're like, I can't even tell you what I'm reading next. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't tell you what's going to happen next.
So he broke the record this year.
That's awesome.
The last record he set was in 2023. And then the record before that, it was way longer than what I thought, was back in 2001.
Oh, shit.
Was when he set the first world record at 85.
So something happened that year. I can't remember what it was. And instead of, dealing with that, he's like, I'm going to balance some spoons.
That is how he dealt with it.
That's how he coped.
Yeah.
Balancing copious amounts of spoons.
Yeah, he was just
80
like,
spoons.
he did 2, and he was like, oh my God.
Someone
can
called
do
Guinness. More. Yeah. That's so crazy.
You know what's funny about those?
I love records like that. Like,
how do you
figure out?
I was going to say, how do you figure that out?
Do that? Why do you do that? Like, what prompted you to behave like this?
Yeah, like, what the hell? What, 85 spoons on your body?
Yeah. I think I want to look that up. Because do you remember Scholastic book fairs? Like,
yes.
when they would... Dude.
And you would always buy the Guinness World Record book?
I wouldn't buy them, but I would look at it every single time.
I bought, I think 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. They were so interesting to look at.
I think I bought them specifically because there was video game stuff in it at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Tubbo's is with us.
He's here.
So yeah, I mean, those book fairs were crazy, dude. I remember I'd go home and I'd be like, Mom, can I get some money? She's like, no.
No.
I'm like,
yeah. I was like, damn.
There'd be times where I had enough money and I'd buy the stupidest shit, like the $100 bill erasers.
Yeah.
Like just the stupidest stuff that I'd never needed.
I'd be like, Mom, can I have $20? She's like, no, we're poor.
You know what we did buy though, back in the day for those book fairs.
Back in the day
was they had cheat code.
Yes.
Books.
Oh my God, cheat code books. Me and my brothers had books like that.
You were never able to figure. This was before the internet.
Before forums and shit.
Yes.
They would post them on forums.
So I had 2 of the cheat code books.
Yes.
And I remember making a Xbox 360 account that didn't have Xbox Live. Mm-hmm. It was just a local account. But I used it for all of my games. So I had one specifically for full auto. It's a racing video game.
Okay.
Where you had guns on the sides. and you raced and you shot cars at the same time.
That's such a boy game.
And it is. And there was a cheat code in it. I want to say it was if you changed your character's name to like Magic Man or something, you unlocked like all of the cars. Or something like that. Something stupid like that.
Gosh.
So I did that, and for a very long time after that, I had 2 accounts, and whenever my friends came over to play, I had my Xbox Live account. But then when my friends came over to play, I had my Magic Man account. Because I changed the Xbox account to Magic Man.
Oh.
And that's what I was playing as for a very long time.
Wow.
Yep.
I remember those cheat code books. That was, hey, we're dating ourselves again.
That was a rabbit hole I didn't think that we'd go down. But yeah, I remember so many cheat codes that I would put in just so I can unlock shit. Force Unleashed had some cheat codes.
Yeah.
Where you can unlock like some colors and some.
Do they still make those?
Force Unleashed?
No, like cheat
codes?
books.
Probably. I mean, it's probably a lot easier to get a hold of now.
Yeah, because
with,
I mean,
the internet.
I would just Google it. But I mean, like,
Borderlands 4 had some. 3, I mean.
Cheat codes?
Yeah, because they had a whole thing where they were giving out these certain codes for.
Talking about shift codes?
Kind of, yeah.
Shift codes was the one that gave you keys to the, hey, hyper-specific references we're making here. My bad.
Shift codes. I guess so, but I mean,
yeah,
they still had some type of. Oh man, looking up the pictures.
Cheat code explosion for handhelds.
I had the cheat code explosion.
I also had this one. Cheat code overload. Dude,
that's
I don't
so
think they make
funny.
them anymore because everything I'm looking at is thrift books. I'm like, uh-oh, that means it's super dated.
One of these days, I kind of want to just go to the thrift store or see if we could possibly buy one.
That is awesome. We could totally still buy one.
That's so funny.
And it'll be like, we'll open the book and it's like, here's a cheat code for cooking mama. I was like,
You know what's funny is it did have a lot of games that like no one really played.
Yeah, well, it was for everything. God, cheat code overload. Codes and sheets, more codes than any other code book. Oh my God.
That's so funny.
Nintendo of Pocket Power.
Whoa.
Nintendo 64 Pocket Power. God, these are old. Anyway.
That's so funny.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the books that I would seek going to the book fair.
I bought, I don't even remember. There was like these, they weren't comics, but I guess it was. It was about that. It was called Smile. It was like that girl that like broke her teeth and she had to get braces and it was like a comic or whatever. Elementary school me loved it. I'm gonna put a picture of the cover of the book.
That's crazy.
And what it was about on the screen because I loved it and I had those books for forever.
I don't even remember the name of the book. I used to read this book where it was kind of like a mixture between comic book but also like just a regular chapter book.
A light novel.
I guess, yeah.
Is usually what those are referred to as.
And it was a mouse detective.
Yes!
You used to read it too?
Yes! I love those. I think his name was Geronimo or something like that.
Something like that. Something crazy.
I read all of those. I loved those so much.
I had like 5 or 6 of those books. Yes! Those were so good.
Oh my God.
Holy crap.
Ah! Oh my God.
Our childhood is even Toby's like, yes, Toby.
Mouse book. What was
Mouse
his name?
detective.
Geronimo Stilton,
yes, dude.
That's
those
my
were
guy.
So good.
That's
so
my
good.
guy. God, they were really good. Oh, dude, there's 80 books.
There's 80 of them?
And I've probably read like 30. They were so good.
I've only read like 10.
They were so good.
That's crazy. That is so funny. Because I honestly, there are times where I'm just like, because those books, those books are what introduced me to comic books.
Yeah, those books, and then the one I mentioned too. They were like comics, but they still had like, they were very wordy.
Yeah.
And obviously they're for kids.
I didn't care for like Captain Underpants. Like,
I did when I was very young, but I aged out of it very quickly.
I didn't really care for it because I was just like, that doesn't seem interesting to me.
Yeah.
But then when I started reading that, I was like, holy crap, this is cool.
This little mouse guy's, he's so brilliant.
He's so freaking crazy.
That's my guy.
No, and that's what introduced me to comic books. And
yeah,
it's funny, throughout all of high school, I would tell people, I'd be like, yeah, I don't read books. I read comic books.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, you're freaking stupid.
It's like, yeah, but if there's no pictures, I can't read it.
Yeah, if there's no pixels, I'm not interested. I don't have an imagination at that time.
I don't have an imagination. What do you mean these words are supposed to make pictures in my head?
The hell? These words are switching themselves. I can't even see what's going on.
These letters are jumbled.
It's probably why I didn't like to read back then, was I didn't know I was dyslexic.
Yeah.
Wasn't until like my adulthood and I met you and you're like, hey, you're
And I was
dyslexic.
like, I think you're dyslexic.
I was like, oh my God.
Oh,
Oh crap. Sarah's dropping.
I flung scissors.
That's so funny though that we used to read
Geronimo Stilton, dude.
Yeah.
That's my guy. That little orange mouse.
That is so crazy.
That's my dude.
That's so funny.
I also loved Frog and Toad.
Did you ever do did you ever have computer lab
Yes.
and you would do like those math games and whatnot?
Yes. We also had where you had to like read and then it would quiz you on what you read. Like it was a book. Like you would read a book. Oh!
Was it the AR test?
Yes. So you would read...
I hated that.
You would read a book. Allegedly, you would read a book. And then you would tell the test, like, hey, what book did you read? We're going to quiz you on the book just to test you if you read it.
And then if you did good, you go up with your...
You passed, and you're like, teacher, see, I read this book. I passed the test or whatever. That is one of my first instances of cheating. You think I read a whole book?
Yeah.
You're out your mind.
It's funny because there's this one girl, and at the time she got bullied quite a bit because she was really into books, and that's all she did. That was like her personality.
Yeah.
She was like...
I had friends like that.
I think I was probably 7.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am not wanting to read like big ass chapter books.
Not knowing you can't read.
Not knowing I'm dyslexic as hell. I don't want to read big chapter books because there's a lot of words and blah, blah, blah. She's over here reading like college textbooks basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
She's over here like level in AR system. She's like level 1 million.
Yeah.
And I'm over here level 10. Because I don't want to go any further than level 10.
Teacher, I can't read.
Shut up, you shut up, you have to read to make your brain bigger. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I hated that shit.
I always like, there was such childlike satisfaction of like, I did read this book and I did pass the test and I felt so proud.
There was
like,
times
man,
where I
gotta
would read the book
again?
and then I'd fail the test. I'm like, what am I doing?
Why am I here?
What is going on?
Why am I here?
That's when
funny.
I found out I was a horrible tester.
Yeah.
Because I'd read the book and then questions will come up and I'm like,
The only time I tested well in school was geometry and psychology. Those were the only times I tested well. I was fantastic at geometry. I was so good at geometry. I love geometry.
Good at testing.
And
like
then
when it came to like anything testing wise, I had to make sure that I did everything as best as I could leading up to that point because I knew once I took the test, it was probably going to drop my grade.
Yeah. No, I studying psychology was easily the most interesting subject I've ever studied in my life. So when it came to like memorization and like testing, it was easy because I loved it. And
I suck at like remembering things.
Well,
memorization.
That's all psychology is memorization, is remembering terms and people. That's what psychology is.
Yeah.
That's literally the whole thing. And you're studying it right now, and you're like,
I just got to test. I just got to make my brain bigger. By reading.
I was just going to say, you know how you do that? Is you read.
By reading.
By reading.
I will say, that is what kind of pulled me to want to study psychology, is because it's just so interesting.
It's fascinating.
I've always been a people watcher. That was one of mine and my mom's favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Like when we go on like mom-son dates or whatever, one of the things we loved doing was just watching other people. We'd sit there and we'd pick up on conversations.
Judgy as hell.
Not even just judgy. We're just sitting there watching people. We just love to figure out
what people got going on.
Yep. Like, it was so fun.
Yeah.
And psychology is just one of those things that, like, I just want to learn more about how people think. Like, whenever I work with people right now, I'm always trying to ask them questions regarding what they're trying to ask, so I can paint a better picture of what they are wanting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of what psychology is.
Yeah. I mean, it is. just so interesting. Like, there's so many things you figure out in the learning of psychology. Like, for instance, like finding out what a cognitive bias is, or things like that. One of the most interesting things I found, or like I remember learning, was like the what's it called? Like the bystander, like being a bystander, is you assume if you're a bystander and you're watching somebody get hurt or being yelled at, or you're witnessing something happen to another person and you're surrounded by other people, you as a bystander, I think it's called the bystander effect. You are assuming somebody else will step in. But that's the thing, is you're not the only one thinking that. Everybody else is thinking
everyone that
somebody
is
else.
Watching.
Everybody else who's a bystander is assuming somebody else will step in. So that's why, like, hearing that and then learning about it and be like, damn, it's right though. I'm not doing shit. You're
watching someone get robbed and you're like, damn, that sucks. And you're
somebody's
looking around
stop them.
Across the street, there's someone watching you. They're like,
damn. That's it. That's exactly it though. It's so fascinating. And then obviously you learn about Pavlov and the dogs and stuff like that. I think another interesting one I remember learning about was aphasia. And aphasia, there was two kinds, but the one I remember was Wernicke's aphasia. What?
Haven't learned any of this
I
yet.
know, but I went through an entire year of psychology and you haven't yet. So that's why
I've only taken one class. I'm like, huh?
No.
What is that?
So Wernicke's aphasia is like there's one of two, and I can't remember what Wernicke's was basically, it's like you, in your brain, you know exactly what you want to say, but when it comes out, it's basically you either say too many words or you can't say enough. Like, you get stuck on the words. So one of them is basically like...
I have that.
Okay, so let's say you're trying to say, have a nice day. They would say, nice day. Like, it would be like that. It would be like doubling up of words.
Okay.
And then with the other one, it was basically like, have... And they would sit there and struggle to say the word, even though they knew exactly what they were going to say. So it's not quite a stutter, but it's just like they know exactly what it is they need to say, but they can't. There are parts of their brains that will not let them, because you have obviously different parts of your brain that think and then communicate and things like that. And that's where wires get crossed.
Damn, my wires are all crossed up then.
Yeah, it's so interesting. One of my... this is the last I'll say of it, but one of my favorite ones I remember is because sometimes... Like, or at least when I took it in high school. So it's a lot more.
You took psychology in high school?
I did.
What the hell?
I did. And then I took it in college. So I
the world was failing me. I didn't have a psychology class in high school.
I could only take it senior year. But still, yeah. I took it for an entire year, and then I took it in college. I still have my psychology notes.
If I took a psychology class in high school, I
probably would have figured out what you wanted to do.
I think I would have been a therapist by now.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, that's why I studied it in college.
So upset.
That's why I studied it in college, because I studied it in high school. I was like, this is easily the most enraptured I've ever been with a subject, like, ever. Like, my mom's that way about history. She loves history. I'm like, I could not be any more bored. I could tell you.
I loved history, but there was it comes down to the testing. When it came to the testing, and there's all of these dates and names I have to remember. I was just like, dude, like, I love hearing of the stories. There was a story sorry to go a little off topic.
Go for it.
But when I had to write a paper about Julius Caesar. I read into all of his war tactics and all of this other stuff. Reading all that stuff.
He's an interesting dude.
Holy crap. It was so amazing.
There's a reason he's famous. He's a very interesting dude.
Yeah, like, it's so cool to just learn about that stuff. But then when it came to the testing, I was like,
I don't remember anything.
I was like, he got stabbed in his back by, like, his friends that were his enemies.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's about I can't remember. Whoa. Excuse me.
There it is. So I will say, learning psychology right now, I've only done the one class of the introduction, and I'm just like, it's all of like it's quite literally like all of the medical terms and all of the brain, how the brain works, and the very basics. And I was just like, man, I want to start getting into why people think the way that they do.
Yeah, that's probably at least for me personally, was the worst part, was learning the parts of the brain. Yeah. Like the anatomy bit of it, I was like, oh.
I hate.
But then you get into like, stuff. This part of the brain does this, and it's actually mirrored, like the left.
When it got to the last few chapters of my of my class. I was like, dude, this is what I love.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, my English class was also talking a lot about psychology stuff. Like they used a lot of psychology scenarios.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, why is my English class doing more than my psychology class?
See, that's the thing though, is you have to get all of that out of the way.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out the different parts of the brain, how they function, and then that goes into like why people have schizophrenia, why people do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to know. It's just boring. I hate it. I took an anatomy class my junior year. It was the worst science I'd ever taken. I hated it.
Yeah,
I hated it so
tough.
much. I barely passed.
It's funny because like my mom loves school. If she can go to school for the rest of her life, I think she would.
Dude.
I don't know. I don't know how some people do that. I have a coworker right now who she gets it. She clicks everything. Like she's studying her last semester. I think she was studying she's studying to become a nurse. So she has to know all of that stuff
and more.
more. And so she's coming up to me and she's just like, "Oh, the other day I learned about the brain and how blah, 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 blah." And I'm just like sitting there and she used to do this to me because I would tell her, I'd be like, "Hey, listen, I'm glad you're learning."
Yeah.
I was like, "Everything you're saying is going one ear and out the other."
That's fine.
And I just wanted to tell you that. And so that was like our joke. She'd walk up to me. She's like, "So the other day, I learned blah, 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 blah." And I was like, wow, that's so great.
And you know what would be so funny is if I was in her situation, I would purposely throw complex words at you because the human body,
did all the time.
Yeah, the science, like the terms and all of that, super complex.
When we'd have people printing
words.
out like posters for like their classes, she'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm learning about this," and I'm like, "Oh my god." So no, I'm excited because I remember my mom took a God, what is his name? It's blanking on me. He was a freaking psychopath.
Oh, Manson?
Manson.
Yeah.
She took a class where they had to study Manson.
Yeah, we talked about this when I talked about the music stuff because one of the Beach Boys went with Charles Manson.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a case study. So I'm sure
so
it's
crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I remember that was like one of her favorite things.
He was Helter Skelter, right? That was Charles Manson?
Helter Skelter?
Helter Skelter. Keep talking. I'm going to look it up. I can't remember.
I don't know, but I just remember my mom had to watch a lot of videos on him, and it was just interesting. I think we have talked about this before, but
yeah. Shoot.
You know what is really good though?
What's that?
There's a Quentin Tarantino movie called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that has a twist on one of the Manson murders.
Oh yeah.
At the very end of the movie, it's about about half of the movie is about the Mansons.
Yeah.
And
okay. Sorry. It was Charles Manson. It was basically, I think it was like a race war thing. Let me look that up before I say anything.
Okay. Tobo's is hanging out with us.
Yeah, Toby did pee on our couch. I said he hasn't peed yet. He's been very good.
But to be fair, we've been slacking on doing some chores.
So he came in and make it myself.
And it was very small, which is good.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
We love him dearly.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do a lot of reading and congest it to what I need to say.
I'll just keep talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Go
because
for it.
He won an Oscar for it, and he's like my favorite director. He is a weird dude. He likes feet.
Yeah. One thing about Quentin Tarantino, fucking freakazoid.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
Hi. So,
oh, Lordy.
I hope you like the cut about Micah talking about Quentin Tarantino's love of feet, because apparently we were recording for the fast 15 minutes because we had a hardware issue. We had like a great conversation for like 15 minutes and none of it was captured.
None.
Absolutely none of it.
None of it.
I was talking about, I was looking up Helter Skelter, and it was Charles Manson basically worried about inciting a race war against Black Americans. Shocker, considering he was a white supremacist. Anyway, and then you were talking about Django,
and that's how you should separate the art the artist from the art.
Because he's a freak.
He's a weirdo.
He's a freak.
And Django's just such a good movie. It has such a good arc. And then we went into Mindhunter. But you know what? You're not going to hear any of that because
it doesn't exist
it
anymore.
doesn't exist anymore. We had a conversation.
It was great. It was really great. And
Hey,
you don't get to hear it. And I don't remember any of it.
You know,
I talked about Criminal Minds too.
when you're living on a budget and you're wanting to be a creator, things are going to happen that you don't expect.
Mamma mia.
And, you know, we're not getting paid for this. So
if you can tell that we sound dejected, it's because I'm really disappointed.
We're a little upset. We're
I'm really
a little
disappointed. Oopsie daisies.
Oopsies.
Oops a poops.
I do remember, you know, to bring Mindhunter up. If you haven't seen it, it's a show on Netflix. It got canceled. It went up to 2 seasons.
Yep.
My mom is actually one of the people. I started watching it, and my mom actually brought it up to me. She's like, "Hey, have you heard of Mindhunter?" I was like, "I think I have." It was a show that I was thinking about watching, and I didn't know if I wanted to watch it. And she was like, "You should watch it." And I was like, "Oh, all right." My mom is recommending me a show for the first time in
Milady
ever.
declares it to be so.
And so I watched it, and yeah, great show. And I'm so upset that it got
It's just
canceled.
like we could talk and rehash it all, but I'm just like, we're gonna re-explain it and we're gonna sound sad.
But instead, you should just go watch it and then be upset that Netflix canceled it.
There you go. Because, as I said in the lost footage, Netflix doesn't know where to put their money.
Yep.
They don't know what to throw their money at. They don't know where to put it.
You know, to talk a little bit about that, I was watching my great YouTuber Luke Stevens talk about video games.
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't make out with that man if you were in the room.
I would give him a firm hug. He seems like a great guy. And one of the recent things he had talked about is how Microsoft bought Bungie a while ago.
Yes, this is
bought them for like $3 billion. Billion with a B.
Yerp.
That's a big billion. This was when Bungie, don't know if for the listeners, are the people who made Halo.
Yes.
They made Halo.
All up until
I want to say Halo
Reach?
4?
Was Bungie in 4? I thought they stopped at Reach.
I think they stopped right after 3.
Okay. All right then.
I could be wrong, but I think that's when they stopped.
Yeah, that sounds right. I just didn't know
when
if
they
it was...
stopped. I don't know if necessarily they sold the rights or what happened, but a company called 343 took over. Anyways, they're the ones who are making Halo games now and are the ones who were in charge of the Halo
in charge
show.
of Mr. Halo.
Mr. Halo, Mr. Master Chief.
In the
Mr.
show.
Master Chief.
Mr. Halo.
But in regards, Microsoft bought Bungie because Bungie made Destiny. Destiny was losing money because they made Destiny 1 and 2, and it starts losing money right after Microsoft buys them. Now, Bungie is now coming out with a new video game that has been multiple years of development.
Right.
It is called Marathon.
Okay.
And apparently, it's an extraction shooter.
Oh,
it's not great. What's funny though is Luke Stevens had this pretty good comment, was that these bigger companies, for example, Microsoft put out Bungie put out a trailer for this game, and everyone loved the trailer. They're like, we want that. Yeah. And then the gameplay came out, and they're like, the f*** is this?
This is bunk.
This is not what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me because I don't know what the hell is up with video game corporations. It's probably greed. A lot of it has to do greed.
Nope, that's it right there. That's it.
That's
it. Literally it. It's money.
But they love to just try to spend so much money on a multiplayer game that will never be something like Halo.
Yeah, because
I guess that's a big way around. Just don't make multiplayer games solely for it. Because if you think of it, Halo was big because of the campaign, because of the story.
What's that COD game that's like solely multiplayer? That's like
Warzone?
Yes, Warzone.
Yeah.
Like that I was like,
Call
what
of
gives?
Duty is a great example.
I was like, what is this?
I
You know?
was introduced to Call of Duty playing the campaign and playing multiplayer with my friends.
And committing war crimes.
And committing war crimes. Getting killed by General Shepard.
And
Anyways,
then going into an airport and shooting civilians.
as a Russian,
Yeah.
but as a double spy to the anyways.
There's no racism in this game. Shut up.
Shut up. Anyways, that's what's so frustrating is that what made Call of Duty really good was it had amazing campaigns, and on the back end, it had multiplayer where you could play with your friends and have good times.
Never played a Call of Duty campaign before. I've only played multiplayer, but my brothers have played it. At the very least, Clayton. And I know that, they're infamous. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've never played the campaign, but I know a lot that goes on in the campaign because it's famous. I know a lot about it. At least in specific games. I don't know about the earlier ones, but in the later ones, I know more about.
That's just how I was introduced to that and Halo as well. I was introduced to Halo because of the story.
Right.
On the back end, there's multiplayer. But nowadays, big companies like, I think Blizzard owns Activision, which Activision is who makes the Call of Duties.
Yes.
Call of Duty is an umbrella of multiple companies, but at this point. But they don't make campaigns. They don't anymore. It's all multiplayer, and it's so irritating because that's where they're like, oh, this is where the money's at.
Halo's one of the few that still does both in terms of those kinds of games.
In
those classic campaign shooter games.
Yeah.
Because you think like Valorant or stuff like that. Like there's no campaign.
There's no campaign.
There's no campaign in
CS:GO,
Apex.
there's no campaign.
It's solely multiplayer, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you can't have that, but
But there
when
used
it
to
comes
be
to
like this.
those classics.
It used to be kind of like not even just like a hidden gem because multiplayer was not a hidden gem.
No.
But it's like their focus was on the campaign first and then the multiplayer second. I felt like. So I don't know. There's just something about it that
the campaign informed the multiplayer.
Yes.
Like it fed into it.
Yeah.
Like that's my. I mean, I don't really love Halo Infinite as far as the Halo campaigns I played. I don't love it.
I think you're the only one there.
I don't love it. But I do love also that those campaigns are multiplayer.
Yeah.
I can play with other people playing the campaign because if I had to play it by myself, I would quit and I would never play it because I don't like Halo Infinite. I'm sorry. I don't like it.
Did you know that the like those companies like Call of Duty and Halo took out split screen compatibility?
Why?
Because no one used it anymore.
Oh.
So those games you can't play split screen anymore. If you have,
you solely have to play online.
You have to play online.
Yeah.
So let's say you bought the next Halo. So I know that they're making another Halo because they.
So it's not an Infinite. There's no split screen in Infinite.
There's no split screen in Infinite.
I play it online because I play with my brothers. So I don't know.
No split screens
insane.
In any of those games.
That's like the pinnacle of playing one of those games, especially when you play multiplayer against people who are on different split screens. Yeah, I'm screen cheating. Yeah.
What about it?
That's the fun of it. I see you hiding over there. I'm going to come over and find you.
Yeah.
I can see your screen.
Now it's a matter of who has the better skill to get the kill.
I'm like, damn it! I have no skill. That's why I'm cheating.
So yeah, I don't know when exactly they took out split screen for all those games, but yeah, they don't have split screen anymore.
That's insane. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I guess LAN parties, but even at LAN parties, everybody had their own screen.
If you have like a big LAN party, yeah, you'll expect people to show up with like their own monitors.
You and the boys just hanging out on one TV, you can have split screen?
Yeah, come on.
Stupid.
We can't do like a 4-man split screen?
Dumb.
Yeah, it's stupid. When I read that, I got a little upset. I got a little sad because I knew that a part of my childhood died.
With split screen.
With split screen. It did. It's crazy. You can't play those. I mean, the only thing that probably has split screen now is probably Nintendo. And Nintendo.
That's the first thing I thought of. I think of like Mario Party or like Mario Kart, something like that.
And Nintendo hates their consumers.
Oh yeah, to their core. They do not believe in discounts or sales or anything like that.
Nothing.
The The Switch 2 is like one of the higher price consoles, and it does not have to be. The parts are cheap.
It's absolutely doo-doo compared to
the parts are cheap to make.
4 or PlayStation 5 or whatever.
They price hike. Every game is like $80. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they are,
They'll still buy them.
Some people will. I can't afford them, so I won't.
That's the sad thing about it is people will put money to the side to buy those type of things because that's what they want.
Yeah, the Switch 2 sold out pre-order.
Yeah, it's
so yeah.
It sucks.
And it's like $500.
Yeah.
The Switch.
Yeah, Toby.
The regular Switch was like $300.
Yeah, I remember buying the Switch,
which was like normal.
That was a Christmas gift to myself.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm making money. I'm gonna buy myself a Christmas gift, and it was a Switch. It was a few games on it, and I remember during finals of high school, I'd whip that thing out and I'd sit there and play whenever I was done.
Yeah, it
sucks.
They don't believe in sales. You have to buy everything full price. Yeah, it's
full price, and they're raising the prices too.
Mm-hmm.
They're raising the prices.
Yep.
They're raising the prices.
I wonder why.
It's because of my law.
It's certainly not my fault. Sorry, a little too political.
Yeah,
my
anyways,
bad.
Wizards of the Coast is also like that too. People who make Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay.
They are also the people who make Magic: The Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a new set that came out, the collection box. Just to put it in perspective, the last set collection box was like $300.
Mm-hmm.
New set, $600 to $700. $600 to $700.
See, okay, I'm going to say something that's probably really dumb because I don't know how the economy works. I'm semi-political brained, but I'm just like, I don't understand how this works. What is the point of price gouging consumers to the point where people can't afford it? What's the point? If you keep doing this, then people can't afford to buy it, and so you will have no consumer. Is that so stupid to think?
Now, this is coming from an also uneducated brain on politics as well.
I don't know how the economy works. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. But I'm like, what's the point? If everything, to the sole point of, just like buying a loaf of bread is expensive. Why? If people can't afford to buy it, so they won't buy it, you have no money, you have no capital. How do you do business? I don't know. That's the thing. I'm stupid.
It's
but
just
I'm
all the people at the top.
The 1%ers.
They're greedy.
Greedy men. But not women.
Not men. Not women. They're not greedy.
That's simply called a women's wrong. Not a women's right. A women's wrong. And I support those too.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a society.
Oh God. Call me the Jonkler, am I right?
The Jonkler.
2 tickets to Joker, please.
No, but I do think about that sometimes because I'm just like, well, if I'm over here, Brayden's FaceTiming me.
Oh, pick up.
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
Do it.
Okay, fine.
Do it. We can cut this out.
No.
If it's too bad.
No, we're gonna FaceTime him. He's gonna see me shirtless.
Oh my God! First guest appearance on the
pod.
Look
at my nipple.
So, Mike is not wearing a shirt.
It's hot. Our podcast room that we record in is hot.
Oh no, he's not gonna pick up.
Now he's not gonna.
I think he's hurt that you didn't answer his call.
Little motherfucker.
It's
dude. The first time a guest.
We could have a first possible guest. Oh.
No. Do you like that?
Hi, Brandon.
That's so horrible.
We're recording the podcast right now.
That is crazy. I'm listening to you guys read the Sonic Hyatt.
Oh my God, you're a fan.
You're a fan?
You're our biggest fan.
Dude, it's awful. It's hurting me.
How does it feel to be the first guest spot?
I feel great. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like.
Where are you?
Cut me out because. Oh, I'm at Safeway.
Oh. Do you feel safe?
I feel pretty safe. I feel awful knowing that you record the podcast shirtless like that. That's horrible.
Dude, it's so hot here. It's like 7 million degrees.
Just today.
Dude,
He doesn't usually record shirtless.
This is so great. I love this. Do you want me to call you back later?
Yeah, with the shirt on.
No promises.
You're revealing too much.
Okay, love you. Okay, bye.
Brayden. Stop showing nip. All right. Sorry, y'all. That's so funny. Yes, Micah is not wearing your shirt. A fact you would not have known.
Why are you giving away my secrets?
Oops.
Oopsie. That's so funny.
He's like, that's so horrible.
He's like, no, dude, please.
That's awesome.
No. He's in Safeway. We don't even have a Safeway here.
And not anymore. No.
That's crazy.
So fucking funny.
What were we talking about?
I don't even remember.
He caught me so off guard. His beautiful hair.
And I told you to
Beautiful,
call him, yeah.
beautiful looking man.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? We were talking about corporate greed.
Oh, I was talking
Which
about.
is such a fun topic.
I know.
by the
I
way.
was talking about the economy and like why people price gouge and people do that. But at the same time, it's like there are obviously, like I said, the switch to you dropped your phone. You should pick that up.
Thank you.
The switch to sold out in pre-order, so obviously people are still buying it.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I'm
Just
just-
stop buying. Just stop buying it. If you stop buying it, their prices are gonna drop, and then they're gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?"
But I mean, there was.
But then there's people who are like, "I need my Mario."
yeah,
I
exactly,
need it.
Exactly what it is. It's
It's like you do not need it.
guys.
There's.
It's
I
capitalism.
remember- I
I'm sorry to
remember-
tell you, it's capitalism.
I remember learning in high school about my needs and wants,
Mm-hmm.
and how my needs needed to go first, and my wants
Hey,
second.
which brings back to the psychology conversation that all of you missed. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I did learn about that. That I did learn about.
Hooray!
Yep,
What do
I
you
remember. I remember that.
Do you remember what they are?
Nope. But I remember the name. Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Let's see. Top tier. New Mario game.
I think one of them is pleasure.
one of them is pleasure, yes. But it's more of here, let me.
Maybe more of like a love thing.
The top is or the bottom is physiological needs, which is like food, water,
Yeah.
things like that. Safety needs, which is shelter, love and belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. Those
Yeah.
are the hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, so like I remember I had a conversation with one of my friends in high school whenever not even in high school, I think it was right after high school because I had moved out right afterwards. And they had come to me, they're like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "How do you live on your own?" And I was like, "You save money
Yeah.
and you put the money that you need to the side so that you're not spending money on stupid shit all the time." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh."
Oh, fuck.
And I was like,
It's genius. Why
"It's
didn't I think of that?"
genius." God, that's such a good show. But anyways,
Smiling friends.
yeah, I don't know. I walked away from that conversation. I was like,
Is that not the default answer?
yeah, I was like, do people just spend their in?
I mean, I get if you're
And
rich
I know
and
the
you
answer
have
to my
pad.
question coming up. I'm like, do people just spend their money on stupid shit? The answer is yes.
I used to.
People
When-
do all the
when
time.
I made more money. When I made a lot more money. Yeah,
I
did
remember
all the time.
I have a coworker right now who doesn't have any bills to pay for,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "Yeah, I just bought this $500 jacket."
His. Are you talking about his wife is an RN?
No,
That different coworker?
no, the young one.
The young one.
Yes.
What? With what money? Oh, his mommy's money.
He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any bills.
His mommy's money.
And I told him, I was like, okay, first of all, I'm not bashing on if you're young and you don't have any bills, do stupid shit.
Yeah.
That's your time to do stupid shit.
Agreed.
But at the same time, I also knew people who were penny pinching when they were making money and they weren't having to pay bills because they wanted to buy something in the future, meaning like a house or like a car that they really wanted to.
For the first year, I had a job. I was still living at home. I wasn't making great money, but I was still making money, and I didn't have any bills. I saved up and I bought a $2,000 laptop, and that's what we're recording on.
Yeah.
Right now.
I
Because
mean,
I did not spend any money.
there's things like that I'm like, that's good. I have a friend who he bought his dream car, which at the time was like a Challenger,
Yeah.
but he was still able to be like, I achieved that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was working like 2-3 jobs at the time and also going to high school, but hey, who's
Still.
to who's to bash on that? But to bring up the needs and wants, that's what I mean. Is like people are like, I need my Mario, and I'm like, you don't need your Mario.
Perceived.
Play the last one.
It's also like a FOMO thing. That's a lot of what that has to do with it.
Fear
is
of missing
like,
out.
If I don't have this and everybody else does, I can't be like them.
I'm trying to train myself. Me as a photographer is a very expensive hobby.
Yes.
I'm at that point to where I've had conversations with you where I'm like, I feel like I need to buy another camera.
Yeah.
And then I had thought about it, and I was like, well, the one I want is really expensive. Sure, it'll last me a long time like this one does, but at the same time, it's like I don't necessarily need it right now.
Yeah.
I can go a while without needing it. And I think that's because I see stuff on social media all the time of people being like, oh, you need this gear to do this
so
and blah,
fake.
blah, blah.
It's so
But
fake.
then it's very nice to see that there are very few people on social media who are like, hey, I took this shot, beautiful shot. They're like, with this, like, entry-level camera.
Yeah, those little like.
And I'm
little
like,
cameras.
dang,
I don't know what
dude.
they're called, but they're not the full like Canons or anything like that. Like with the
They're
big lenses or
they're
whatever.
a point and shoot.
The little portable ones.
Yeah,
they're portable.
They're a
That's what they are.
power shot.
Yeah, I had one of those, and I loved it. I think I
And-
still have it somewhere, but
And I think that's something that I see in a lot of people is that they want to buy all of these things, and that's what makes them good at something. But when and in reality, this is specifically just for like photography
Right.
or something like that. Because I see a bunch of people who are like, I have 7 million attachments to my camera.
Mm-hmm.
But why am I not getting all of this stuff and all of these people? And why aren't people coming to me? And why am I not getting the great shots? And then there's someone that I saw recent where it's like, well, if you're too worried about getting more crisper shots, you just need to get closer to the subject. Sure, a
It's
lens
just
could
that
help. I have a $80 lens right now, and it's my smallest lens. Dude, I love that thing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It has the blurry background that everybody loves.
Yeah.
It makes the images pretty crisp, and
Crisp.
it was only like $80 to $100,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that thing. But I think when it comes to like video games and stuff like that, I think that is a lot what you're talking about is the FOMO,
It's FOMO.
is missing out. And
Yeah.
I get it. I understand it.
Yep.
Because when I wasn't really doing much with my life, I guess, when I first moved into our condo here now,
Yeah.
I was playing games with my friends all the time. And that was like our pastime was buying games to play with each other. We're
Yeah.
buying like a game a day almost.
Yeah.
And games could be $5 to $60.
Yeah.
Now $70 or $80.
Yep.
But that was like a daily thing is we'd buy a game, play it for like that day or two, and then buy a new one.
Right.
Because it was a fear of missing out.
Yeah, and especially now, and I had a conversation with like a coworker. Like all of my coworkers are kind of significantly older than me, at least 10, almost 15 years older than me. But like we had a conversation. I was like, yeah, like trends I feel come and go. And I've also had this conversation with my sister-in-law. The trends come and go much quicker than I think they used to. Trends used to stick around for a little bit longer. I think they're very, very quick. And so that's another thing too, is what's costing so much money is that trends are expiring a lot quicker. So you're buying something and you're not sticking with it
Yep.
for as long as maybe you used to in the like past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Definitely in the past like 5, maybe 6 years, I've noticed that a lot. My sister-in-law, who's a teacher, she not teaches online, but she used to be in the classroom. She used to be like, yeah, like kids were coming in with new words like every week, and I had no idea what they meant. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's so true. Like the internet landscape, like meme and meme culture, stuff like that, goes so fast. Like things are brand new. People find something new to latch onto, and then they stick with that for a week, and then something else.
And then it's gone. Not even a week. Sometimes it's
Sometimes just a couple days.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a few days.
But like that's just kind of the landscape we're in.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Oh.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
My bad.
But yeah, I mean, I know this podcast has kind of been all over the place because of whatever, but yeah, I mean, that's just the trend that I see a lot of times is people put their wants before their needs, and I think it's something in the classrooms really that
who knows
might be taught, but then it also comes from like parenting.
It starts
and
at home. It
lifestyle
really
as well.
It starts at home. Like, you can blame a teacher all you want, but it starts at home, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. Get it from your parents, get it from your loved ones, however you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it starts at home. It's what your parents allow, and, how much. Because, okay, let's be for real. A teacher can only do so much to correct behavior.
Yeah.
They are not your parent. They can
Especially
only discipline
for like
you.
personality stuff.
Yeah, they can only discipline you to a certain degree without breaking the fucking law.
Yeah.
So, and even then, like, schools themselves will have different rules for things like that. So it's like, don't blame the teacher. It's all on you a lot.
I
It
do
really
wish
is.
that throughout like high school that there was like some life courses or something.
Home ec classes are no longer offered, at least not in our area. I
Yeah.
don't think we have no home
I just wish
classes
that
at all.
was something that was still offered, because I feel like whenever someone does start to move out on their own, I mean, sure, it's kind of like about figuring out, like that's kind of what it's about, but at the same time, like the first time you do taxes, it's terrifying. There's still some people who don't know how to change their oils for their cars. There's still some people who just don't know how to do, I feel like, our basic things in life.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that still, it could be taught at home. But I felt like it would be much easier if a student had to go to school for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it just depends on what it is. Like, when I got my first apartment with my first roommate, like, I had to ask 1,000 questions. Like, my mom and my dad. I just had to ask 1,000 questions all the time because they did it already.
Yeah, that is true.
So I guess it's an experience thing. I don't know I guess you could teach it.
I guess it's like a skill level thing. I don't know.
I have no idea. I think skill issue. Yeah, maybe
it's a skill issue.
It's just a skill issue. Oh my God. Yesterday, I made you laugh really hard. So me and Micah, apparently, Micah loves to think about this a lot, is that when Micah and I first moved in together, my dad had expressed some concerns to me because I was making a bit more money than Micah was at the time. And my dad was like, I'm worried he only wants to move in with you for your money. And I said, to which I promptly responded, Dad, what money? But
yeah, because you're rolling in the dough.
Yeah, I mean, I was making good money, don't get me wrong, but I had just started, whatever. And the way I had, like, kind of described it, I was like, my dad thinks that this absolute goober wants to just be with me for my money.
I'm sitting over there, I'm like, hey,
this motherfucker can't read. What do you mean?
want to see my Minecraft world that I made for you?
Yeah, I'm like, this motherfucker can't read. I get the concern, but it was so funny, and finding out that you think about that a lot
I think about it all
giggle.
the time, because it's just like, there are times where I'm sitting there and, someone pulls up to my work in like a really nice car, and they don't know how to send an email. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, God, I'm making dimes to the hour. And then I think about your dad being like, he's into you for your money. And then I'm just like, what money, dude?
It was so funny.
Like, if I was into her for the money, I wouldn't have to work here.
Dad, if you're listening, I know you are. We are joking. We think about it because it's funny. It is funny that you said that.
Money?
In
what
It's just
world?
because at the time I was making $24.50 an hour, and I was like, I've never seen so much money in my life.
Yeah.
So that's probably why. But it was just so funny.
That is pretty. It is
Dad,
so
what money?
funny.
I was like,
What
our family's been
money?
on food stamps. What do you mean?
Who are you?
Who are you? The kazoo kid.
Well, anyways, thank you for sticking around for our very.
We had such a
crazy
good time
episode.
that wasn't recorded, and I apologize. It really was good. Hopefully, I you know,
I
it
hope
is what it is.
I hope that you took something from this episode, and it's that you want to watch Mindhunter. You don't need to,
but you
want to. And
because if you don't, you're a f***ing loser.
And on that note,
That's called FOMO.
And on that note, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Comment what your favorite part about the podcast was.
If you're listening on Spotify, thank you.
If you're listening on Spotify, Brayden.
Brayden.
I know you are.
Hey, thank you to our guest.
We love you.
On today's episode, Brayden, thank you for dialing in.
Yeah, thank you for dialing in. If you follow us on Instagram, sorry. Maybe I'll post on Instagram one of these days. Sometime soon. Who's to know? We do post on YouTube and Spotify, though.
We do, and you should listen.
You should listen. You should share
you
it.
already did. You made it to the end. Congrats.
Congratulations! Share this with some friends and family. We love you guys. Goodbye.
Oh.